Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Girls Last Tour episode 10. This is gonna be an interesting one. It is late in the evening, so I do hope I'm not bothering anybody in my new apartment, but it is what it is. Okay, we're gonna try this today because I did definitely want to record today. Welcome to the new setup, by the way, but let's get into it. Last time, what even happened last time? I don't even remember. Let me think. I think last time was the episode with the with the thing, you know, right? Like the thing. I have no idea. I think it was like Moonlight, right? Like the episode where we, like a very special episode with like an after credits that wasn't like the usual ED. Chi getting drunk, I think. You and Chi dancing in the moonlight, stuff like that. Oh, it's gonna be fine, right? Like, I've read a lot of your comments now that Girls Last Tour has been slowly releasing on YouTube for public consumption, and I've had a lot of fun reading it because it also kind of enhanced my perspective. It heavily enhanced my perspective just because there was so much in there that I myself didn't notice. And I think like people who are not necessarily fans of the universe and the mangaka would probably not immediately notice. So I do believe that there's some enhancing effects of comments that I would like to take into account in the future, just to kind of get used to steering my observation once again more in the direction of what you all have been noticing, and enhancing my experience of the series as a result of that. I don't know if I've expressed it that way, but I don't see you as a nuisance. I don't see her as kind of like evil or weird or whatever, right? I understand Yu's dynamic, even though I've probably not explicitly vocalized what I think about her from a story perspective. Vincent actually put it very aptly as he defined Yu as being more on the survivalist side of things, right? Like when it comes to like naturally that her focus on food is a very functional thing because she focuses on food as a means to survival, right? Like that is her mode basically. But also that the way she works, right, that she's not like that she's more in the moment is also maybe an adaptation to the environment that she grew up in, as opposed to what she does, which is also obviously very different, but also an adaptation to her environment. She is somebody who likes to plan things out. She is more easily afraid of things, but for a good reason, right? Because it is central to their survival. And for all intents and purposes, the two of them, aside from a couple of adults that are still there, right, are the only people left on this earth. So there's extraordinary circumstances governing their relationship as well. I want to definitely get into some of these comments in a later episode, but I think like my goal for today, right, like almost going like into therapy and doing therapy goals, and my therapy goal for today is, since I haven't recorded in a long ass time and I've been really kind of a little bit anxious about the sound quality and the audio, so if you want to give me positive feedback, go ahead and tell me that the audio is good. But only if it's true, okay? Only if it's true. I can handle it. If it's not great, then I'll have to fix it sooner or later. I don't want to go like running around with bad audio. Either way, as a way to kind of train my voice again and get back into recording and looking at things critically and observing and taking things apart after the episode. We're gonna go into a usual reaction, and it's hopefully gonna be a very engaging and interesting episode. So, Girls Last to episode 10 starts in a 3, a 2, a 1. Wait, we still get the English, don't we? Yes, we do. And we're gonna go for full subtitles. 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. Ooh, the technology, right? Like with the robots. Oh, actually, was the last episode the one with the robots? Could be. Right, existential questions. Where are we? Some kind of facility. Oh, it's the robot. No. Wait, who activated the train? Did they ever see a train before? You checking the perimeter? All right. Okay. Interesting start. I wonder if we have like some symbolism with spirals going on in this. Vincent has also been talking about how the author has a very different worldview than the one we have today, which so far I can see. Like maybe it's because I have a different worldview as well, but it doesn't feel too different from, like, I mean, a unique approach, a perspective, definitely, but. Ooh. So many machines, so many facilities. It is definitely very crazy how the author sees structures, right? How they can create environments. Really fascinates me. I think that's another robot, actually not our robot. Yeah. You is not somebody for silence, is she? She can do silence. You can't. Interesting. If we move in the same direction, yes. Mm-hmm. Mm. 'Pretty much. No, it's crazy to think about it. It is crazy. If you think about these things. Big robots. Mm-hmm. Moving grave. clock?
時計か時計時間がわかるやつだっけ確か地球が1回転すると針が2回転するんだったような地球より早いな時間に早いとか遅いとかないからいやあったっけとにかく地球は回り時間は過ぎていくほら行くぞ早く乗れわあちょっと待ってよもうせっかちなんだから走ってる列車の上で急いでもしょうがないじゃん確かに回ってる地球の上で急いでもしょうがないじゃんいやそれは違う
Nice try, you. I mean, you're not.
昔の人は
There's some truth in that.
身につけていたらしいなんでそりゃ便利だからだろう何時までにこれをしなきゃとかそういうことの目安になるし便利というかなんかめんどくさそうだな
It kind of is.
急ぐのは苦手でもユウ私たちだって着いた
Where is there though? Where are we?
行こうよいやちょっと待ってここで終わりじゃないみたいだレーションみたいのが並んでるね多分点滅してるのが現在地だけど
So there's one more.
あるね降りないの
Or oh, I read it the wrong way, so there's a lot more.
さあユウ私たちだって食料っていう時間の制約があるんだからな軽いな
Our time is constrained by our food.
じゃあ食料があるうちにどんどん進んじゃおうよそういうことだ行けるとこまで
I do wonder how it is. Sorry. I do wonder how it is to only be constrained by food. I mean, obviously it's stressful in a world where you don't have security of nutrition, right? You don't know when how long your food is gonna last and when you find the next piece of food, right? There's not a lot, like there's barely any animals in this entire world. I do wonder if the world they were born in was absolutely bereft of animals to begin with, right? If that is one reality of their specific world, that the humans over there they eliminated all the animals, or they just like they ate them all. I don't know. Probably more like war destroyed them, or maybe like there was no environment for them to live in anymore except the urban environments, which were destroyed by the conflict that was prior to the beginning of the series. But on the other hand, we do have these clocks that we move, and you is not wrong. They are an orientation, like Chi says, you can kind of like schedule when you do what at the same time. Like they're good for productivity, right? Like, but what is productivity? Right? When does like productivity started as a means to be efficient, right? To make sure that every human being is provided with something at any given time, right? Like it increases security, increases our survival chance, right? It increases like the systems that we live in, they increase the chance for us to survive and to thrive and to develop more things with the advancement of technology. There came a huge boost in the survivability of human beings, in the quality of life, in our ability to protect ourselves from outside influences, to maybe even just isolate ourselves almost completely from outside influences. It's not complete, but it becomes more and more likely to isolate yourself as more as technology advances more. At the same time, we keep constraining ourselves, right? To be like this productive, you have to have a strict time schedule. With the industrialization, there came maybe not the invention, but the widespread normalization of clocks, right? Of a time schedule, of a day and night cycle that is removed from our normal circadian rhythms, right? Our normal like intrinsic rhythms that are tied to the sun hours and to the night hours where there's no sun and just the moonlight, or maybe not even the moonlight in some nights. And with that, life becomes more hectic, right? We start with normal day and night times. In ancient times, we go over to morning and noon and evening. We go over to hours. We go over to minutes. We go over to seconds. Things are being measured in milliseconds now. We can be more precise with our predictions, with what we do, and more things are being done more quickly. At the same time, though, we also have to do things more quickly, because it's always about efficiency. It's always about being better and faster, right? So there's something that's getting lost, isn't it? There's people today out there who don't live without a clock, right? Our literal pocket computers that are our phones, inside of our pockets, they have clocks. They show us the time at any time, right? Schedules upon schedules upon schedules. Your whole life is going to be planned out. Even children nowadays, right? Like, you got school, and then maybe you got lunch, then you got like maybe you got school the whole day, right? Like with like afternoon whatchamacallit, hmm, I don't remember. Yeah, you got school in, maybe you got school in the afternoon even, right? Like doing your homework while you're being supervised by some kind of teacher or educator or social worker. You've got like play dates. You've got after school appointments. You've got soccer club. You got chess club. You got like your regular weekly appointments. Some of the kids these days, they don't have time, right? They don't have time to just like maybe just go to the park and just like be themselves. Sometimes they don't have time to maybe just like get together with the kids on just around the block and just do something spontaneous. They don't have time to just sit there for an hour and breathe and think and relax. Even our school curriculums, right? Curricula, more and more material, right? More and more learning material gets crammed in shorter and shorter spans of time, right? Like stuff that you would have done in 2 or 3 school years back then is being crammed into like half a year, right? Like into a semester or something. That goes for school, that goes for uni, that goes for any kind of like workplace traineeship and whatnot. So you do see the other side of things as well, right? It constrains you, it hassles you, it stresses you, it constricts you, it removes freedom. On the one hand, it gives you some kind of security as well, right? Like, because you know what time it is, you know what you're supposed to do right now. You can orient yourself better, you can be more precise. But there's something that's being lost, and that is freedom, even if it's just perceived freedom. And maybe a sense for time itself. Maybe a sense for calmness and yeah, something. I think it's very interesting. They don't understand time that way, right? Like it's daytime, it's nighttime. It's dinner time when they're hungry. It's refueling time when they run out of fuel, right? Or when they spot a fuel tank or something. It's a different reality. Okay. Final station or no? Okay. Is the train going back? Wavelength.
ずいぶん長いこと乗ったな。あの列車かなり遠くまで来た気がするけど。そうだね。ラックめちゃくちゃ出た気がする。
Was the radio picking something up?
ユウ寝てる？どうしたの？なんか聞こえるような。聞こえるって何が？こいつから音がした気がするんだけど。
Notice how quickly Chi picks up on you actually being focused on something.
あれか。ってちゃんと返してって言ったじゃん。いや、これ使えそうだったし。死んだ人のだから罰が当たるぞ。でもほら、死人に武器なしって言うし。口なしだ。素手なら怖かね。素手でも
Fell
怖い
away.
よ。それでどんな音が聞こえるの？不思議な音だったな。
Music?
人の声に似てるけど少し違って雨音のようなあーってリズム？そう、リズムってやつがあってこんなあーあーって感じ。それは歌ってやつなのかもな。歌？人の声でやる音楽だよ。お前も時々やってるだろ。
She does. She actually does.
僕は暗い暗いなみたいな。そうそう、それが歌。これか。なるほど。ちょっとその機械見せてよ。はーい。多分電波か何かを受信する機械だと思うけど、なんか悲しい感じがしたな。音楽って悲しくなったりするものなんだっけ？よくわからないけど。
Sometimes it does.
聞いてたらなんか悲しいような気持ちになった。でも確かに雨音の音楽を聴いた時は少し楽しくなったよね。悲しくなったり楽しくなったり、音楽というやつにはそういう力があるのかもしれない。リズムがあるから？リズムか。音波というものにはそもそも波のリズムがあったと思うけど。さっき言ってた電波ってやつは？電波はよくわからないけど、それも何かの波だよ。
Waves have a rhythm, that's true. She is really educated on that. I mean, considering how she grew up, right? And in what a broken and world she grew up, where there's not information at your fingertips.
でも たいよね。そうだな。この階層に来てからずっと基盤の中だったからな。あの列車でどれくらい移動したのかもわからないし、ひとまず地上部に出なきゃいけないんだろうけど。どうやって？とにかく上の方に。上か。
Always up.
ちいちゃん、あれは？
A giant pipe.
急な坂だな。これかな。
Ooh, it's an elevator.
動いた。でも、なんか早くない？
It is.
これちゃんと止まるの？何？あの音楽。地上が近いかも。近いというか、もう見えてるよ。マジか。早いな。スイッチスイッチ。どれだろう。よくわからん。
She's like, oh. Ooh, music.
ちいちゃん大丈夫？本当だ。なんとなく悲しい音楽だね。
A bit
ちいちゃん見て。
sentimental, I would say. Wow, wow. Okay.
夕日だね。赤いね。赤いな。この赤い光がなんとなく悲しい色に思えるのはこの音楽のせいか、それとも。きっと夕日の赤も悲しいリズムなんだよ。光の波のリズムか。
Infrared is low, right? In wavelength.
夕日が目にしみる。
This music reminds me of Nier.
いや、痛い。すりむいた。ああ。
Sure you did, Chi. Sure you did. How cute. Look at that.
気持ちいい日だね。いい景色にいい音楽。鳴ってないだろ。天気はわからないけど。はい、動くなよ。
She trying to cut her hair.
どうやってできたんだろう。こんなもんかな。毛先がだいぶボサボサになってたけど、さっぱりしたな。私も家もちょっと切りすぎたかな。何も変わってないじゃん。チーズ。
Now we're actually chronicling our journey with the photograph.
水の音もするし。降りられるかな。
Capture? What are we capturing?
ここもずいぶん武器が落ちてるけど、やっぱりひどい戦いがあったのかな。この穴もその戦いでできたとか？
Maybe a bomb did.
どうかな。穴の内側にも砲台があったりするところを見ると、この穴ができたのはもっとずっと昔なのかも。ずっと昔？そう、ずっと昔の戦いでこの大きな穴ができて、その周りにできた町でまた戦いがとか。ややこしいな。
Very observant, Chi.
おー。
That's actually pretty cool.
何やってんの？ そこでご飯にしようか。やったー。芋を焼いたやつもたくさんあった気がするのに、だいぶ減ってきたね。
That's how it
あとは
works.
切ればさっぱりするけど、こっちがなくなるのは寂しいな。海、あの水たまりの中に魚でもいればいいのに。魚か、食べたかったな、あの水槽の魚。助けたいとか言ってたくせに結局食べたかったのかよ。それはそれ、これはこれ、共感してたくせに。
それはそれ。
それかさ、こういう穴から食べ物が出てこないかな。水だけじゃなくてさ。出てくるわけないだろ。どうした？変な生き物か。
What the hell?
生き物？この中に生き物って魚とか？もっと違う何か。
Think about how crazy this is for somebody who's like barely ever had a living thing, like barely encountered one.
大丈夫？大丈夫っぽい。なんだろう。
What the hell is this?
魚とかじゃなさそうだけど、本で見たような。
This looks like the statues, right?
猫。よし、食べよう。ちょっと待てよ。とかか、ちょって待とうよ。ねえ、
Wait, what?
今その機械から声がしなかった？
Wavelengths.
まさかこいつが喋ってるんじゃ。この猫が？猫かどうかはわからないけど。おい猫、お前は猫なのか？猫だってさ。ただ繰り返してるだけじゃ。猫だって。どうする？焼く？待てって。やっぱり置いていこう。なんで？言葉を喋るようなのは食べられないだろ。
Interesting.
共感ってやつ？まあそうだな。
It's too human, maybe.
もう行こうか。他には
What are those?
じゃね。
It's gonna follow us, isn't it? Alright. We have adopted a pet.
ねえ、なんかついてくるよ。ない。あれ、やっぱり食べるの？違う。なんていうかさ、いろいろなくなっていくばっかだし、たまには増やしてみるのもいいかなって。ない。いいんじゃない。
How much does it understand?
おっと。でもやっぱりユウが運んでくれる？ちょっと怖い。かわいいのに。やわらきー。あんまりいじめるなよ。
Alright, we got a companion, I guess. Welcome back, ED. Alright. Yeah. That, I guess that is it. Oh, wait. There is more.
Ah, ah, ah. こんな感じか？じいちゃん下手だな。
Oh, don't bully her, you. Okay? She's trying. She never done it. Okay? Singing is hard. Singing is a skill like any other skill, and it's hard to learn it. Okay? I feel personally attacked by this. Okay? All right, let's run it back. Let's start on this beautiful shot because I really like it. It's pretty simple. Rope, be that I think it's a steel rope, but rope in the foreground, you in the back, rope out of focus, hand up, bigger picture, right? Like more context. Little symbols again, like on the left side, kind of like the robot symbols, and we have A5 over here. It's like, okay, A4, A5, all the way to A10. We got B1 all the way to B8, which is very interesting. It seems almost like they're parallel lines running. I'm not sure what that like crossed out sign is. If it says, like, if it tells you not to do something, it's not immediately intuitive to me. Interesting light bulbs. Haven't seen those ones before. And the trains are huge, right? Like in comparison to us. So they probably were cargo trains and not passenger trains, or rather like trains that mostly were operated by or occupied with these robots that we see inside of the train when we go inside. As always, it's very interesting how we create this atmosphere of tranquility, almost. I think it's very interesting to have this scene where you constantly interrupts the silence with her train of thoughts. I do feel like maybe you is uncomfortable in silence, so I do wonder why that is. If there's some reason why she needs, like, why she has this instinct to fill the silence with words. If that is her way to ping chi, right? To see what she's thinking and what she's doing. Or if there's more to it, right? If that's like, because you seems to be very focused on external stimuli and external things. Right? Obviously, she's like, I'm bored. That's what she's saying, but she's bored because there's no outside stimuli that she can interact with, and they're sitting on a bench and just like being in the moment. There's not a lot that they can do. And then she's always talking about observations that she's having, right? Like, oh, look at this thing, or what is this thing doing, or I noticed that. Right? Like, it's almost like she's constantly trailing off and seeking stimulation. Feels a little bit ADHD to me, right? But also maybe there's something on her inside that she doesn't want to be busy with, thinking about. I mean, then again, she is the type who is more outgoing, more extroverted, more immediate, right? Like, she likes to be in the present. She likes to not think too much about the past or the future. So does that, like, how does that help her survive? Maybe we would ask. Because her behavior is always learned behavior. And we are, like, the way we are learning behavior is if our behavior is being rewarded. If it's being adapted. Obviously, there's maladaptive behavior, but it's often just like we sustain that behavior because in some kind of way this behavior is also getting rewarded. Even if, like, in the grand scheme of things, it is behavior that is negative, like comes out as a net negative. There's still some positive aspects to it, like we are avoiding uncomfortable or negative things, right? Things that make us feel bad, right? Things that don't feel good, or we are seeking out, like we're showing the behavior because we keep getting positive things from it. And so why is she mostly in the present? Maybe because it is too uncomfortable to think about the past and the future. That would be one explanation. And that can still mean that she is a very nonchalant person. Just like this doesn't have to be a sad thing, right? Like maybe it makes sense that she grew up the way she grew up in a broken world, right? Where survival is key, that her main focuses are what can I see, what can I hear, what can I eat? And that's what has been the most important to her. And on a psychological level, it's also the only thing that interests her. In contrast to that, we have Chi, whose main focus is always kind of what could be dangerous, right? What do I need to consider to survive tomorrow? So she is very focused on the past and the future. She's writing her diary, right? She's writing down the past in order to gain more knowledge and to keep that knowledge. And she is planning out the next move in order to think about the future and prevent dangerous things from happening to them and make their way towards the next shelter, the next piece of food, right? The next station on their journey. So in that way, they're complementing each other very, very well, right? Like they're a very adapted duo. Now, I don't know how long they've been together, right? They've obviously known each other since before episode 1, but the question is for how long, right? So did they grow up together, and that is why this pattern of interaction developed the way it did, because Yu was maybe naturally leaning more towards being in the present and showing the kind of behavior she does, right? Being extroverted as well, right? Being very observant, and she is more the one who's always been inside of her head, and so it was kind of natural for them to kind of like start adapting to complement one another as a unit. Or was it just a very lucky coincidence that they've met and then their dynamics started to grow? Either way, like, it seems to be to me that Yu doesn't like silence. And that might just be a mechanism for her to see what's going on with Chi and to see if everything is alright in general. Or it might be just a way for her to like, that she doesn't know how to fill the silence. Because she's not the person who's kind of closed in herself and thinking a lot about things. That doesn't mean she's stupid, that just means she has a different mode to process things. And one of the modes to process things can also be just vocalizing almost everything that you're thinking and seeing. It might be a very effective method to get feedback, right? Be that from the person that she grew up with, right? Maybe some kind of adult, or be that with Chi, right? That she's like, okay, I see this, I do this, this is kind of spooking around in my head right now, and then she immediately gets Chi's response. She gets Chi's judgment, opinion, observation, immediately bouncing an idea off. Keep the camera. I still can't read any of that, so I don't know what the dates are, so. Interesting. What did they take a shot of there? Is that like a vent or something? It's twirling her hair. Long dark hallways. I thought like it's very interesting to me how We're moving in a train that's moving. See, she's not stupid. She's like, wait, we're moving even faster than we like. She's doing the right math on that. She's like, without knowing these concepts, while she, on the other hand, has a lot of that background knowledge, more than I even gave her credit for, although I already thought she was pretty like as like educated as you can get in a world like that. But she is able to recognize these concepts, right? We're moving inside a train. The train moves, we are moving, so we're moving faster than the train on its own, and we're also moving faster than we would be on our own. And then she's got like the rebuttal from Chi, where it's like the Earth's rotation. She knows about the Earth's rotation. And Yu's like, holy shit, that's crazy. And I think a lot of kids probably, when they first realize that, they're like, wait, what? It's crazy. I mean, some might not, right? Like, there's other priorities as a kid or as a teenager. If you think about it thoroughly, it's like, that is insane, right? I am sitting here in my chair, but I'm constantly moving with the Earth's rotation. And not just that, but the Earth is not just rotating around its own axis, it's also rotating around the sun. So there's two kinds of rotations that are happening over here. But the atmosphere is protecting us. And gravity and all that. All the forces of nature, basically. And still, we don't perceive ourselves as moving, because things that are this grand, this zoomed out, we can't perceive it. We shouldn't, right? I mean, it's cool to measure it. It's cool to like find that out. Research. Like, how crazy would it be if you perceive it at all times that you're rotating with the Earth? Just shows how subjective reality can be as well, right? That there's things that we don't notice. And that's a good thing sometimes. Get that machine language again. Every time we see the robots. I do wonder if this means that they're still communicating, right? That there's like the legs have broken down, the functions have broken down, but the cores may be still active, much like the train is still active and going back and forth. And once the train's like broken or something, it might not be able to move anymore, but it might get the signal to move, right? And the electricity is still on. Get the clock. It's always like curious that like a clock a clock is moving twice, right? Like makes two rotations as the Earth makes one. I wonder if there's like, I never thought about that, if there's like some scientific principle behind that, or if it's like just the circumstances in which clocks were kind of like invented at first. I mean, I know these days we measure our clock like in coherence with the like atomic like, I don't know even know how it's called, but the atomic clock, right? Like the particles, the particle clock. That's kind of like just very, very precise. Greenwich one. I don't know. Like I think before that it was a lot less accurate. It's more tied to sun hours. I would say that probably some of the earliest clocks in human history would be sun clocks, right? Just measure the shadow on the sun clock based on the sun's movement, and then suddenly it's cloudy and you have no idea like what what time it is. But yeah. We constantly have like the reflection of them against the glass window. I wonder if that's got some kind of meaning. I mean, I know like that's like a typical kind of imagery that you would be used to from a clock, because from a train, because especially in dark spaces and if the interior is lit up, you do have that typical reflection of yourself in the glass window, that you see more than actually seeing the outside. And it's a cool imagery, I think. There's no reason for us to hurry when we're on the earth, when we are on the earth that's moving either. No, that's different. I mean, I don't know if it's different, right? Like we're on a moving, I mean, it is different, right? Like we're on a moving train and the train is getting us to a destination on the earth. When we're just sitting on an earth that's moving, it might be moving in space, but it's not getting us anywhere that we weren't before. It's not like we can interact with that, like that point in space, as opposed to like we're within the earth, right? Like contained within this object you would call earth. And as such, there's no way for us to directly interact with the grander universe, and our position doesn't matter in that regard. But our position does matter in regards to where the train is, because we can step outside of the train and then we're in a location that we weren't before. The train is getting us somewhere, the earth isn't. I guess you could see that as kind of like a metaphor, that even sometimes if you're doing something, if you're moving, if you're not moving towards a specific goal, right, then you're just moving to move, it might not have a result. It might not have any meaning. So what is giving our movement, our, like, us fulfilling our goals, what is giving that meaning? And the answer to that is, or what is giving the activities that we're doing meaning, the answer is our goals. Where do we want to go? And even though the journey matters too, that's a true saying, I think. Like, I feel that as a personal opinion, the journey is important because it helps us develop and it helps us make experiences. And obviously, without the goal, there would be no journey. So what does it help me to think about things if I can't influence them? Or if I can't learn anything from it? What does it help me to think about something for the 20th time if the result of that is no new perspective gained? Because there's no piece of information that I can acquire from that again. For that, I would need to interact with something. Be that observe something, be that actually apply force to something, right? You can spin this metaphor in many ways, I think. I'm still kind of curious what motivates Chi and you on a very basic level. They started their journey and we still don't know what their destination is, aside from like, we want to go all the way up. Is it like the series says, their last tour, in the literal sense that they were like, okay, we want to see the world before we die? Is that like, was that a specific goal that they had in the beginning? That they set out to do? Or were they sent out by somebody, right, with that goal? You don't have like you don't have a quest, right? Go to the castle and right, go to the peak of the city and find that piece of information that the doctor needs to save the world, right? Go find these people or this community in order to live a life and like repopulate humanity. What, right? There's nothing. It's just these two girls going on a journey for their own experience. Living day by day, surviving. So is survival the goal? Or is it a means to an end to another goal? And what motivates chi in you specifically on an interpersonal? Obviously, we do have the usual Maslow's hierarchy of needs and whatever, right? That's like basic human motivational like structure. That's like what are our basic needs as well, right? And our needs motivate us. It can be kind of put underneath everything, although the hierarchy is it's not strictly hierarchical, right? It's at least not in reality. You can do things for self-fulfillment despite being hungry. I mean, there can be an argument for having to have a basic level of needs met some of the time. I know there's people who make the argument that like going on a hunger strike would be fulfilling a higher need, right? A societal need, right? The need of self-development, right? Like self-fulfillment, because you're following certain moral values. You're kind of like expressing your individuality and your ideology by removing another need, right? Like not removing it, but rather purposefully depriving yourself of fulfilling that need. And that is a good example of like the hierarchy of needs not being an actual hierarchy, like a strict hierarchy. Because you can deprive yourself of food in order to make a point, and making a point would be some kind of act of self-fulfillment. Or maybe it is an act that is related to your relationships or affection or right, higher needs. But in a basic sense, it's still a hierarchy. At some point in time, you're gonna collapse, or you're gonna need to fulfill the need of hunger. Right? You're gonna die. You can die, right? Like if your conviction is strong enough, right? You can ignore the basic need. But it becomes more and more pressing as time goes on, and that specifically is the thing that makes something like a hunger strike or whatever so impressive, because you are depriving yourself of something so essential in order to make a point. Little tangent here, I'm sorry. Like I had that comment or discussion at some point in the last months that I've read something along those lines where I felt like kind of like spooking around in my head as well. The question is, what motivates you to go on a journey with Chi, right? What motivates her day by day? Food, maybe, right? Like maybe it's as simple as that. It's food. She's like, okay, I just want to eat good food, but there's more than that, right? She's got the motivation of like the relationship to Chi. She's got the motivation of curiosity. I think food motivates her pretty well, right? Like from what we've seen. Curiosity as well, as we've seen, right? She's very observant. She's very like out there and interested in things. She wants stimulation. That is one motivational pillar for her. But she also has a moral compass to a degree. Maybe not as much as Chi. She's a lot more practical, I feel, when it comes to things that are like in the immediate present. What motivates Chi? Is it fear? Fear of dying? I think anxiety motivates her a lot, which is not necessarily always good. But it's not strong enough to paralyze her, and that's a good thing. And she's got chi to actually get her out of it if she needs to. I think she has a real motivation in curiosity, but on a different level than you. You is curious in things that she sees and that she encounters. And she's even a little curious about concepts, right? We've seen that in this episode where she's like, wait, if we're moving, right? Like, whatever. She is curious about higher concepts sometimes, right? She also adheres or responds more curious to stuff like putting meaning into things, right? Like an understanding how other living things, humans, animals, maybe even robots, work, right? Not to say that Yu doesn't have empathy. I think she's just like playing that a little bit too hard. Even with the eating thing, and I think it's more of just like a ping and a running gag, just like the usual mode of interaction. I think Yu's kind of testing Chi on, like that's her way of kind of just like seeing how valuable things are to Chi and how Chi would, like, how to get Chi's point of view out of things, was like, let's eat it, and then she's like, no, you can't, right? Like, because it's talking, right? I'm gonna go to that because like the train of thoughts about like their motivational structures is really hard to parse out. It's a like this show is a lot show don't tell, so we don't have any concrete information on, like, this is like obviously a psychologist's bread and butter is also like behavioral observation, right? Aside from interviews and questioning people about their motives and thoughts, obviously you also need to look, how are people acting, how are they reacting, how are they processing things, and you can see that also based on their reactions, their bodily reactions. Are they anxious, right? Are they reacting visibly, right? Their memes, their general posture, all of these things. But I always, like, of course, I can only derive as much as the author is willing to give us. One thing I find really cool is we're having all of these dark tunnels, right? We're living in a land of darkness in many of these episodes. But this show has a vastly different atmosphere compared to another show that I've seen that also was very much clad in darkness. And that is Technolize. Technolize has this eerie, almost creepy, dreamlike feeling to it. Girls' Last Tour feels a lot more grounded. Weirdly enough, despite like the chibi kind of art style, despite some of like the goofy elements, it feels a lot more grounded. It feels a lot more uplifting too, almost naively uplifting. And we're approaching the world, I've said that a lot of times, but we're approaching the world with this childlike wonder, which I really love. Yeah, the empty space feels a lot more neutral compared to Technolize, where empty space always felt threatening and suffocating. Here it feels cool but comfortable. And I can't tell you why that is, right? It has to be the way they shot it, right? Like it has to be the way they drawn it. The inherent, like the unique cinematography of this series. Maybe the art style helps too, to make it non-threatening. And now we're off to wavelength and music. And to the centerpiece of this episode, kind of, at the heart of things. Interesting how you can't tell the passage of time if you live in the dark. I wonder how it is in Alaska, 6 months of darkness. I mean, obviously you can tell the time, you got a clock everywhere. Yeah. It's gotta be like, feeling wise, it's gotta be really, really unnerving sometimes. I'm sure there's people who enjoy it. And the usual interaction, right? She's like, can we break? Can we break? And he was like, I don't know, it's fine. I mean, they bumped up, and it was quite the landing. So they didn't have any like hard breaks. I think maybe because robots were just going up and down, and it wasn't that big of an issue for them, or maybe like it was cargo, and the cargo was always fastened. Yeah, we got sad music, open eyes, and a red sunset shining in their eyes. That's a beautiful picture. Especially like the way the world is closed off by those two levels of city that are kind of boxing us in. Reminds me of a shot of like Deus Ex Human Revolution, right? Of like Hengsha, the double layered city. And we got the red spectrum sunlight. The sunset. Infrared, right? Because like the way the sunlight hits the atmosphere, it gets reflected back as infrared light. Or more so, at least. I haven't seen a red sunset in my personal experience yet. Most of it was like deep orange. And you got like the reds right at the horizon, right? When the sky is getting a darker shade of blue as well. And I think it was she who was asking if the red light is sad light. If like the wavelength of it is sad. And I do think, like, if I remember correctly, ultraviolet is like all the way up there, right? Like it's very high frequency when it comes to like the light waves. And I do believe infrared is very low on the spectrum. Like it's very like slow. And slow kind of associates to sad for me in terms of like the rhythm. We were talking about rhythm all this time. And a lot of sad songs are slow songs, right? And I think it's also a little bit related to what we feel like when we feel sad. And I think sadness, much like depression, which is like an extreme form of sadness, not really, right? It's dysfunctional, it's a disorder, but like it's related a lot to sadness and like a negative mood. Sadness is very much associated with slowness of processing, inactivity, right? The inability to motivate yourself for something, sadness isn't just pain. Sadness is... It's hard to describe, right? It's hard to describe. Either way, if I have like depression, it's oftentimes associated with low activity, a lot of sleep, or a lack thereof, but that's another issue. It can be a lack thereof as well, but it's more often than not. It's a lot of sleep, a lot of inactivity, an inability to motivate yourself to do things, a loss of interest in things, right? Like all of these things. And all of these feel slow. Because they're low activity, right? Even if you look at like antidepressants, they're meant to like increase your level of activity within the nervous system. Especially the old ones. The new ones a little bit like more specific, but the old ones especially had that effect, right? And then you had to be careful because people who were depressed and had suicidal thoughts, they if they took like the old kind of antidepressant, what would happen sometimes was that the level of activity was suddenly like the capacity for activity, like we call that drive, was suddenly increased by a lot while people were still having suicidal thoughts. And what previously kept them from acting on those thoughts, right, being like the low activity, the low drive that comes with depression oftentimes, suddenly would flip, and then they would still have suicidal thoughts, right? They weren't gone yet. Because like those go to partially, at least, with antidepressants. And then they had the drive to actually act on those thoughts in this like time window in between before the thoughts would also go away. So that would have been that was very dangerous for people who have been getting these antidepressants, especially since people who have been getting antidepressants were oftentimes people which had a very deep depression, very strong depression, a very heavy form of the disorder. But yeah, sadness, slow wavelength. Music is something beautiful, isn't it? Right? It's very interesting. Like everything that is related to music, I feel, is also kind of like very coherent in how we perceive it, right? I think music is, especially if you use not just musical instruments, but even our voice, it's material moving, right? Swinging, reverberating. And then when we talk about emotions, we often talk about swinging with somebody, right? Or, I don't know if it's called that in English, but like in German it is, and I'm pretty sure it's similar. So you swinging with the music, resonating with it, right, on the same wavelength, in the same mood, right? All of these terms, the way we phrase it, the way we perceive it, because words in many ways are thoughts given form, or right. Words oftentimes are also how we understand reality, which is why it's so important that we can say whatever we want, right? There's freedom of speech in many parts of the world, because if you restrict words, if you restrict people's ability to express themselves, you also restrict their point of view, you restrict their perspective, you restrict what they can communicate to one another, which is in turn why music is such a beautiful, beautiful way to communicate across cultural boundaries, even, right? Across like languages. I don't have to understand your language to understand roughly what you're trying to say with your piece of music. It's almost like it's inherent to human beings, right? We're all capable of producing music with our voices. We're all capable of producing music and maybe expressing our emotions and feelings and moods with that music without having to understand the language of the person that we express it to, or without them having to understand our language. It's very interesting that the girls aren't used to music, but if they weren't around people, it makes sense. But it's very enjoyable to see them discover music in this way. Love how we're kind of like just perfectly creating this, like the actual sun effect, right? Like of like the fluctuating surface. And then we have a picture that's a lot different, right? Flowing water. Taking another screenshot. We cut our hairs. Very interesting and nice that they were. I need to do that too very soon. I mean, it's not that split, to be honest. It's pretty okay. Right? Not that spliced. I take good care of my hair. I try to at least. Right. Battles. A big hole, right? Like some kind of giant space laser, or maybe a bomb or multiple bombs that actually, like a bombardment that destroyed this part of the city and made an even whole, right? An impact, like it's almost like, right? Giant explosion, but it had to happen twice because the ceiling also had it. Water flowing out of the tanks because they're full. It's beautiful imagery of like destroyed human structures being overcome by nature and water. Feels good to cut our hair, but losing these makes it feel kind of sad. Yeah. Losing your resources, or also losing something that you created yourself as well, right? You know that there's limited time in which you can enjoy these. And then you'll have to see what else can sustain you. And it might be something that is not as tasty. She's dreaming about fish again. You think if food comes out of these holes. She's like, don't be silly. Don't be stupid. And he's like, no, there was something. It was moving. And we got that little, whatever that is, little critter, whatever it is, it can communicate through wavelengths, which is insane. But yeah. And no, it is not a Neko. Love some of these angles. I mean, I could gush about this entire show because of how filled with detail every shot is and how we turn the shots, we turn it, we give ourselves a very, very clear image of how the environment looks and how everything is built up. It's beautiful, right? Like, look at that. So many things, right? Like the weapons in the foreground. We got the ground. We got the water, like the little bomb crater. We got the destroyed city in the background. We got the upper layer. There's so much. It's so busy, and it must have taken so much time to actually create these scenes. And it's impressive how much people, or how good people can get at having a feeling for an environment and creating it out of their sheer imagination. But yeah, it's following them. It's like we encountered each other and we didn't hurt it, and so it's like, other living thing, hello. Can I come with you? Can I come? And I mean, that's like the essentials of like also a bond between a pet and, I mean, they didn't feed it, which is very interesting. So there's some like natural thing that draws them towards one another. I don't know how to put it. We're always running out of stuff. So maybe it'd be nice to try adding something instead. That is an interesting thought, right? Like, because it's not like a thing that you use. It's more like, hey, this could be something permanent. Getting back to the hierarchy of needs, right? We have food, we have water, we have sleep. Those are things, resources, right? We have security. That is something that we need to maintain. Although I guess like a pet, you also have to maintain. this is another level, that's relationships, right? Even if it's just an animal, it's a companion. It's companionship, it's affection, it's warmth and empathy and emotion. And it's a little bit like us, right? Can talk. The more something seems human, right? The more something seems relatable. The more something seems relatable, the easier it is to get attached. Spider, gecko, reptile, less. Bird, a little bit more, nice and fluffy, but still kind of like less interaction. Cat, dog, mammal. Similar responses, though obviously quite different. But the more something is similar to us, the more we can intuitively gauge its personality. We can intuitively empathize with it. And obviously we also derive something from it. So many people out there that I've met where their pets really give them purpose in life. Not the only thing, right? But one thing that really gives them comfort, gives them someone to talk to when they feel bad and can't talk to anybody else. And somebody to take care of that you can feel responsible for, which makes you feel self-confident, which makes you, I guess, get out of bed for something else than just yourself. Here's another motivational factor, right? How many people have had bad thoughts in their life, right? And the reason why they didn't act upon them is they had a family at home, kids, parents, partners, and they thought, I can't make them suffer. I'm responsible for them. They'd be sad without me. They'd be lost without me. They'd be in danger without me. And as much as we can provide that for each other, and as much as I'm sure you and she provide that for each other, in a way, a little animal companion can help us too, right? We provide security for and food for it. I say it, right? It's maybe a him, maybe it's a her. And in turn, it gives us something, right? It gives us companionship. It gives us self-efficacy. It gives us satisfaction and happiness. Yeah. Because we are social creatures. We need other people. Not just to define ourselves, Shinji, but also just to help each other, to support each other. And sometimes, I guess, it's enough to feel understood. Even if that's just the perception of us. Let's see where this leads. A funny little critter. I'm sure it's gonna add some shenanigans to it, and I'm happy to see it. I'm happy that they're not the only thing in the world, no matter what this thing is. It looks like the statues, I'm gonna be honest. So, interesting. Very curious similarity here. It might be the style of the mangaka, just like that, right? Like, likes to draw cute little things like that and put that into the statues, or it might have another meaning beneath that. Well, yeah, that was Girls Last Tour episode 10. We've got 2 episodes left, which is very exciting and at the same time very scary because it's only 2 episodes left. There's a lot I still don't know about this series. There's a lot I still wonder about at the same time. Maybe. Maybe once this is done, I can sit myself down and think about it a little bit more. And then we got the manga. I don't know if I want to... I mean, y'all can maybe write that in the comments as well if you want to tell me. Or write it into the like in my Discord channel. You can join that for free. Link in the description down below. But yeah, go ahead and tell me if I should read the manga from the beginning on, if that's worth it, right? You know what, like if there's a lot of differences between the manga and the series itself, and if it's like not taking a giant amount of time, that would be kind of like my criteria for is it worth it to watch, like to read the manga. And or if I should just start where, like, at the place which I will definitely read either way, which is like the last, I think, 2 or 3 chapters that weren't adapted in the anime. I wanted to do that either way, so don't worry about that. Though I still don't know how I'm supposed to do that, so feel free to tell me, right, in the Discord, in the Patreon comments, in the YouTube comments, in which form I should do that. If I should just like read it like piece by piece on screen. Still need a source for that as well. Or if I should read it like a chapter or something, or yeah, and then just talk about it. We can do that as well. Like maybe just highlight a couple of panels that I really liked and then talk about what I thought about it. I can do that as well. Would probably take a little bit less time and would be more on the analytical side probably. I don't know if I'll have like big reactions to single manga panels or anything, if that would be something that people like, that would be worth watching, right? Like me just scrolling through it and just reading and looking at the panels. I don't know how much you can gauge from my facial expressions based on that, you know. Or if it's not better to just be like, oh, that was a great chapter, it talked about this and that, and we had them interacting, right? And we met this character or found this critter and did that, and I thought it was very interesting that they displayed this, and we can read something into that, right? Like, can do that too, right? Like more like a review, and I would be happy doing that. So yeah, do let me know. In the meantime, I hope you all have a wonderful week, and I'll see you next time for Girls Last Tour.